What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. My name is Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today we're looking at the Tomatin 14. Stick around. Alright, so we're looking at another Tomatin today. I think this is the fourth Tomatin I've looked at on the channel. I've looked at the 18, I've looked at the 12, and I've looked at the Legacy. Now, this is a brand that seems to be coming into the spotlight more and more these days. I did a video recently where I talked about brands that are kind of on the up and up or growing in popularity, and I didn't include Tomatin on that list, but I did notice that there was a good number of people down in the comments section discussing this brand, saying it should have been included. So while it's not a super popular brand, I would say they've got a bit of momentum, and good for them. In terms of my relationship with this brand, I've said it in the past and I stand by it. I think they're okay. I think they're fruity, they're pleasant, they're accessible, but I've yet to be really impressed by them. I did like the 18, but it was far from being a favorite. As far as the 12 goes, I didn't really enjoy that one. I know a lot of people do, but it wasn't for me. The Legacy, I thought was a solid budget sipper. It's not a brand that I actively dislike, by no means. It's just, I think a lot of their stuff is maybe a little bit too safe or a little bit too forgettable. And being the intrepid rogue that I am, I figured I would explore more from these guys. I've been told to check out their IBs. I don't think I've had a Tomatin IB before, so that would be interesting. And I've also been recommended the 14 by a good number of you. Now, the thing about the 14 is I have had it before, but I last had it who knows how many years ago. It's been a really long time. So I figure, yeah, it's about time I circle back around to it. Our 14-year-old here matured in bourbon casks and then finished in port casks. Now, much like Tomatin itself, port casks are something that I don't always love, so this is kind of a risky proposition. Will the casks completely overwhelm the spirit? Are we going to find harmony between the casks and the distillate? Will I make jokes about how the brand name sounds like a vegetable? Fruit. Stay tuned. So yeah, this really could go either way, but it's got to happen, and I do listen to your suggestions. I do take them to heart, so yeah, I'm ready to get my port on. The fuck did I just say? Get my port on. I'm gonna leave it in. I'm not gonna edit that out. Here's the review. Kindly leave a like. So we've got some pretty solid specs here. We've got our 46% ABV, we've got our non-chill filtered, and we've got our natural color. Phenomenal. So we have our nice natural color there. As for the bottles, I've said this before, I don't love Tomatin bottles. I think they're fine, they're modern, they're very glassy, but nothing about the design really jumps out at me. I find them kind of meh. They're okay. Score will be 2.5 out of 5. Now, it doesn't say non-chill filtered or natural color here on the bottle. We have to look to the box for that. We do have some basic tasting notes on the front. It says port casks, but nothing about bourbon casks. I guess my biggest complaint is some of that info on the box should be moved over to the bottle. Overall, it's fine. I did not add water. Let's try our nose. So definitely port. We get those berry notes. We also have some like sweet red wine tannins. We have some fermented fruit, lychee, longan, mango. There's apricots, licorice, orange rind, and some berry jam. This is very sweet. It's very fruity. It's not hot, but it does have a bit of zing to it. Now our palate. Sweet. White pepper. Some jammy fruits in here. It's earthy. There's berries. There's longan, which might just be in Asia. It's a fruit. If you're not familiar, it looks like this. We also have strawberry in this, like candied strawberries. Actually, rarely in whiskey do you get such a strong, such a forward strawberry note. It's kind of like a strawberry soda here. Once again, very fruity, very sweet. Now our finish. Okay, so a lot of those fermented notes from the distillate are starting to pop up towards the finish. Also getting some earthiness in here. For the most part, it's largely just a continuation of the palate. We have a lot of strawberry notes in here. We have some pepper. It's a medium finish. So this is one of those mood whiskeys. I've had it on some nights and it really slapped. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I've had other nights where it's just kind of meh and it didn't really hit. So I guess it depends on your mood, your palate, all that stuff. I would say that on the whole though, it is a solid one. I think it's one of Tomatin's better choices. I definitely like this more than I like the 12-year-old, and I would say, yeah, it is better than the Legacy as well. We do have a lot of like fun fruitiness in here. I do still prefer the 18-year-old. I think the age gave it a little bit more sophistication. This one is louder, but it's loud, but it works. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of port casks in my whiskey, and I certainly don't like it when they completely overwhelm the distillate, and luckily that's not the case here. Don't get me wrong, this is a cask-driven whiskey, and the port flavors are definitely the loudest, but we do have some spirit in here. It might take a bit of digging around, but you'll find some of the softer, rounder, more fermented, cleaner, fruitier notes in here, and those are coming from the distillate. Another thing I like in this whiskey is that we do have a little bit of a zing from the alcohol in here. Now, for the most part, this is a very sweet and very accessible whiskey. I don't think it's going to give anyone any trouble, but just a little bit of, I wouldn't call it sharpness, a little bit of prickliness in there, just a little bit of that zing. It reminds us that the spirit does have some life to it. And finally, I do like some of the flavors that were imparted by the casks in this. I have warned you that it's on the sweeter side. I don't think it's cloying, I don't think it's sickly sweet, but definitely we do have some candied elements in here, more specifically like candied strawberry or strawberry soda. And that's a flavor I wouldn't want to drink every day, but it is a kind of like a unique and interesting twist. So overall, I do feel pretty good about this one. I don't think it's a great whiskey, but I do think it is one of your better Tomatins. And I think if you're a port guy, this is an easy one to recommend. Now, because I'm not a port guy, I'm going to land on 84 for this one. And of course, that's a matter of preference. I definitely think it is a well-made whiskey though. One little caveat though is that for a similar price tag, you can buy the Glenmorangie 14 Kinta-Reuben. That's another port-finished whiskey, and personally, I do think it's a little bit better. I think we've got more depth, more complexity in that one, so I would grab that one first. But if I went to the shop and they were sold out of the Glenmo, this is a solid plan B. At the end of the day, though, as someone who isn't a huge Tomatin fan, not a huge port fan, I do genuinely like this whiskey. I think it's solid stuff. It's an easy sipper. The casks don't overwhelm. Our spirit does have some vibrancy. Add to that the fact that this is very widely available and it's naturally presented. It's hard to hate on this whiskey. Now let's talk about value. I think our value is good. This is fairly priced, it's naturally presented, it's widely available. So I think if my description sounds good and if you guys are okay with a slightly sweeter whiskey, you are going to get along with this one. As I said, it's a very easy sipper. And that's made easier still by the entry-level price tag. So I do think it's worth picking up. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Before I sign out, I do want to remind you guys about the OSWAs, or the Online Scotch Whisky Awards. Voting is now live. These are awards that are built on democracy, built on transparency. It's a chance for you guys to have your voices heard. So I would encourage you all to go vote. I'll put the link in the description down below. Also, of course, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our Tomatin 14 here? What were your thoughts? And finally, down below in the comments, you can let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.